Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Typically, I will simply say go to the website, but if you're on TikTok or if you're on YouTube, I always put my link tree in the description, or my link tree is also in my profile. But right now, it's just something different because I do a lot of research. I go through it, I write it out, I reread over all the research I do just so I can put the information out. But there are some things that I think we need to understand. And I ask for your time, but sometimes I just want to get the information out to you. And sometimes it's going to be longer and sometimes I can do it faster. But right now, you just need to understand. There is this thing called the middle class squeeze, right? And I'm telling you that we haven't had the opportunity to actually vote on things that impact us. We've only been able to put people in seats. Now, again, I was born in 1982. I'm 42 years old. Since 1982, the American middle class has faced a growing challenge that many citizens don't fully understand: the combined impact of increasing tax burden and stagnant wages, right? Since I've been born, because this is what I write and this is what I put on my Substack, which you can find on the website. Since I've been born, there have been increasing taxes, but wages have remained stagnant or not. Wages aren't increasing with the amount of money that is being asked of citizens. And we didn't vote on that. This is since I've been born. Somebody else was doing this, putting these things into motion. I can blame every single person before I turned the legal age to vote in the United States of America. Then I'm also accountable because I also kept on voting for representative democracy, never listening for, hey, is someone going to give me the opportunity to also speak for me since I'm paying for it? If you were also born in 1982 or earlier, you've witnessed this transformation firsthand, even if you couldn't quite put your finger on why making ends meet seems harder despite working just as much or more than previous generations. And that is exacerbated today. We see that a lot. People are putting in an astronomical amount of time at the job, but not seeing the benefits. My article will explain in straightforward terms how these economic forces have affected everyday Americans over the past 4 decades and how reclaiming legislative authority could help level the playing field. I'm writing this for you so you can have a healthy perspective and argue from a factual basis. That's on my Substack. This will be on my Substack so that you can read it for yourself and have a healthy understanding and be able to articulate why you being in control of your future is so important. The shifting tax burden. In 1982, now remember, I'm only going for the time I came into existence. November 20th, 1982. In 1982, the tax landscape looked quite different than it does today. While the top marginal income tax rate was higher, 50% compared to today's 37%, the middle class actually faced a lower overall tax burden for several key reasons. Payroll taxes were lower. In 1982, the combined Social Security and Medicare tax rate was 6.7 for employees compared to 7.65 today. This might seem small, but it represents a 14% increase in tax alone. State and local taxes have risen significantly. Since 1982, the state and local taxes have increased in most areas, which property taxes, sales taxes, and state income taxes all rising faster than inflation in many regions. Everything that is being taken from us is not matching the inflation that is happening, and the wages have stayed stagnant. In the voting, the representatives who we put in office have voted for this to be an okay thing. This is 4 decades, guys. This took 40 years. And I'm just starting from when I was born. Tax deductions have been reduced. Many deductions that benefited the middle class families have been eliminated or capped. Here we go. The 2017 tax law, for instance, capped state and local tax deductions at $10,000, which particularly hurt middle class families and higher tax states. There is an attack on middle class. There is. And we are doing the research to teach and to get you to understand why I'm asking for your vote. Because this is not going to be an easy fix, but we do need to share the load. In representative democracy, while it has done some good things, overall, it is crushing the middle class. Start asking yourself if you're part of the middle class. If you're not part of the middle class, go figure out the definition of how you were looking at whether or not you are a middle, lower, or upper class citizen. Hidden taxes through fees. Government fees for services, licenses, and permits have multiplied and increased substantially since 1982, functioning as a de facto tax increases that don't show up in official tax rates. I wasn't able to even chime in for 18 years of my life. For 18 years of my life, I could not even choose a representative. For 18 years. And that is every young person that has not reached the legal age to vote in the United States of America. Every one of us could not make a decision for ourselves for 18 years. We had to put it in the hands of other people. I'm trying to make sure that when your children reach the age of 18, that it immediately goes in their hands. The real world impact. For a typical middle class family, these changes mean that a larger percentage of their income goes to various forms of taxation today than in 1982, even though official tax rates might suggest otherwise. When you combine federal income tax, payroll tax, state and local taxes, property taxes, sales taxes, and various fees, the effective tax rate for many middle class families has increased by several percentage points. They got something that economists call the double squeeze effect. When you combine increasing tax burdens with stagnant wages, you will get what economists call a double squeeze on the middle class. Take-home pay pressure. Your gross income hasn't kept pace with economic growth, and a larger percentage of that income goes to taxes. Purchasing power erosion. The money you have left after taxes buys less than it did for previous generations. Debt dependence. To maintain expected living standards, many middle-class families have taken on increasing levels of debt, from mortgages to auto loans to credit cards to student loans. This explains why many middle-class families feel like they are running in place or falling behind despite working hard and doing everything right. It's a burden to push so hard. Understand this. Purchasing power decline. The dollar's purchasing power has declined significantly. What cost $100 in 1982 would cost about $310 today due to inflation. If wages have kept pace with productivity and inflation, middle-class workers would earn substantially more than they currently do. Everything costs more. So you have to really take into consideration the global aspect of this. Right now, the dollar is losing value, but we're still seeing inflated prices. If our dollar is losing value, it means you have to pay more dollars for the same article at a higher price. And we let this happen. 18 years, I could not weigh in. I did not do the right thing from 18 until in my 20s. I didn't sit down and do the research that I'm doing right now. I didn't really take it serious because I was trying to learn how to live. I joined the Navy at 17. I joined the Navy before I could vote. Before I could vote. We're having a problem. And one of the main issues is that citizens don't have the ability to vote on all of the policies that have gotten us here today. We've only voted for people, and they have taken advantage. And I'm here asking you to give me your vote so that I can put legislative authority in place, because I'm out here doing the research. Housing pressure. The average middle class family today spends a higher percentage of their home's income on housing than in 1982, leaving less for other necessities and savings. Retirement insecurity. With less disposable income to save and the shift from pension plans to 401ks, many middle class workers face greater retirement uncertainty than the previous generations. Now you got to stop and you have to understand what's happening now. Way back then, our parents were working and they were getting pensions. It meant you put the time into my company. You've invested your time. You've told people about the company. You've helped this company grow. And when you get older and your body's falling apart, because for some reason, we do not like to have a social program. People really, I don't understand this, but apparently people really dislike any social programs that look ahead and say, hey, the human body will break down where you cannot work these long hours anymore. You cannot beat your body up anymore. You are broken down. And there was a pension in place that a lot of companies offered, because you put in your 30, you put in your 40, you put in your 50, you put in your 60 years at that company, and they were going to pay you. But they got greedy. And they said, hey, we got to get rid of these pensions. We're going to still make money. We're going to still take in money, but we want to give out less to the people. So they came up with a 401k and sold it to the masses. Sold it to everyone. And then they started to plant a seed. Social programs are terrible. Everybody who goes through hard times is because they're stupid, because they're not working hard enough, because they're not doing what's necessary to be done. No one's looking at the policies in the legislation being passed that is creating a structure of hardship. They're listening to the propaganda. So when we ask you to read, when I say go to my Substack and see what's going on, when I say go look at my webpage and see the plan, when I say go sign a petition and see what's going on, can you listen to an entire video? Can you give me your time so that it doesn't get by you anymore? Because I'm going to put you in a place where they can't sneak it past you. You actually have to not want to be a part of it. That's legislative authority. So that just because you hear the propaganda doesn't matter anymore. Doesn't matter who you put in that office. When I put the power that is supposed to be inherent to you, Article 1 of the Florida Constitution, political power is inherent to its citizens. When I put the power in your hand, what will you do with it? Because now it will just not be propaganda. You can read it for yourself. You can see those bills for yourself. You can decide if you are going to actually be a part of fixing. Remember, this started in 1982. That's when I started my research. That's when I put this paper together from the day I was born. 4 decades ago, I put this paper together so that I could find out how bad it's been. And remember, 18 years of that. 18 years of that. I could not move. I could not speak for myself. So I had to put a lot of faith in citizens. And I'm going to keep that up. I'm going to put my faith in citizens because I'm telling you, and I'm offering you something different today. So yes, I'm going to put my faith in citizens. This article will be on my Substack. The middle class squeeze of increasing tax burdens and stagnant wages didn't happen overnight, and it won't be solved quickly. But by understanding these issues and working together to reclaim legislative authority, citizens can begin to level the playing field. The first step is recognizing that these economic forces aren't inevitable or natural. They are the result of policy choices that can be changed through citizen action. By educating ourselves and working together, we can create an economy that works for everyone, not just those at the top. If you want the references for any information to look up where I found this, they will be listed at the bottom of my article. References, 5 of them: Economic Policy Institute, the Pew Research Center, Tax Foundation, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. When I tell you that you have citizens that are doing the work, that are taking out the time to be there for you and to teach you and to try to help things go on, you do. And we understand and we want to work together. And I will not stop putting this together. I have until November 3rd, 2026 to convince the majority of Floridians that you deserve a seat at the table. I have till November 3rd, 2026 to convince you that. I have until June, that's 6 months before the election. June, July, August, September, October, November. Yep, 6 months before the election to get you to fill out a petition and take it to your supervisors of elections office and turn it in your county. And then to tell somebody else to do the same, just so you don't have to hear propaganda and not be able to do anything about it. If you're going to believe the propaganda, just still having a seat at the table works for you. If you're going to vote the exact same way as your representative, what's the change? But this is how this works. And it's been working since I've been born 40 years ago. 4 decades. This is how this works. What I'm going to do is put a new piece in there, giving it to the citizen. So go ahead, put those representatives in there. They're going to be sure that you're going to vote the exact same way anyway. But this time you have the ability to do it. And you don't have to be on. You don't have to say that, yeah, that person's doing this and be so pridefully wrong. You can stand on your own and answer for yourself. Today, tomorrow, until November 3rd, 2026, I'm going to ask you to support me by supporting the ideal that you and every other citizen deserve a seat at the table. You guys have a great afternoon.